Hello, everyone. Welcome to the next episode of And One. We got one of my favorite interviews coming up. She is a defending state champ. She is a soon-to-be top 5 ranked 2026 in the class of Minnesota. I said I could go on and on about all of her awards. How about we let her introduce herself to everyone?
Hi, my name is Cail Jahnke. I'm class of 2026, and I'm a combo guard.
Once again, welcome. Thank you for taking the time. I mean, one of my favorite players in the last AAU season, a huge piece for a defending state champ, even going to be a bigger piece this year. We're going to get to know the name Cail because you're going to know it for a few more years before she heads off to college and dominates there. So, but we always usually start. When did you first start playing basketball?
I started playing basketball probably in kindergarten. I was playing in-house here in St. Michael, and yeah,
What are some of your earliest memories from playing basketball that early?
I remember my dad coaching me. He coached me all through travel. He coached me in-house, so spending time with him for sure.
So was dad a harsh coach or is he pretty easygoing? What's dad's coaching style?
Um, he wasn't afraid to get after me.
Fair. That sounds like a parent.
Yeah.
Fair. And so we move up. When would you say that basketball kind of you really knew was kind of the one, kind of one that you wanted to focus a lot on, kind of have a lot of time and energy behind?
I think fourth grade is when I really knew that I really enjoyed to play it. And I just wanted to practice all the time. And yeah, I would say fourth grade is when I.
And then, you come from a pretty storied program. We'll get back to last year and then move into this year. But just kind of overall, the program of St. Michael, they've won a state champion in 2A, they've won it in 3A, they've now won it in 4A. What is it like kind of having that history behind you when you're playing for them?
I feel like it definitely gives you the mindset of no matter what, this team can do something special. And it always motivates you just to work hard and have goals. I think that we have really good goals all the time, no matter what we're doing. And I think that's part of the reason.
Growing up, who were some of the St. Michael players that you looked up to or kind of wanted to emulate your game when you were growing up?
Um, when I first started going to the varsity games in St. Michael, I remember watching Ray Johnson,
Yep.
who's Tessa's sister, and then I had a chance to play with Tessa. So, and I did watch Tessa for a little bit before I played. So yeah.
We'll start there. You had a pretty dominant senior class kind of as your leaders last year with Tessa and Piper. What would you say some of the biggest lessons you learned from them last year and throughout your career playing with them?
Oh goodness. I think that they're both very good leaders. And I think our whole senior class was, but they know how to push you, but they know those are two players I think know really how to have fun on the court too. And they hold you accountable. They always work hard. Um, and yeah, they're awesome people. So I love them.
That could not have been a fun practice having to guard either one of those at any point. Gail's like, no. And so
Yeah.
we'll talk about last year. We'll start at the beginning. Was coming off, losing in the state championship. What was kind of the mentality going into last year? Was it more, we don't worry about last year, this is a new year? Do we use it as a motivation and talk about it that we want to get back there? Kind of a combination?
I would say a combination, but I definitely feel like we weren't afraid to be yeah, let's not let that happen again. And we would definitely use it as motivation because all of us know how it felt to just come short. And we definitely use it as motivation and really pushed ourselves because we know we didn't want to feel that feeling again.
Another thing I like to talk about is you guys play in what's basically like a state tournament every year in the Lake Conference. Walk us through kind of what that is like every year playing in that conference, preparing yourself, the Wyzettas, the Hopkins, those type of teams.
Well, there's definitely no days off. Because you'll literally go from playing Wyzetta to Hopkins the next day, then Eden Prairie, and then so on. But I think you just always get better. There's not a way to not get better in the Lake Conference, and it takes a lot of focus and a lot of preparation. We'll have practices just for the game, and just really going off what we're going to be doing in the game. So yeah, I would say a lot of preparation and focus.
So I always say, I'll get your perspective as a player. I say sometimes it helps to get a preview of Hopkins and sometimes it doesn't. I always say, for example, I felt like Chaska when they beat them at state a couple years ago, they benefited from being able to kind of surprise Hopkins because they had the game during the year what they didn't get to play it. You guys had seen him twice and kind of got the feel for him. Do you feel there's a benefit either way? Kind of could go either way?
I feel like it definitely could go either way. Uh, in that game, I think we really came out and we ran and we played really fast. So I think that kind of surprised them in that way. So I mean, I guess that was good. Yeah, I would say it could really go either way.
Because your two games with Hopkins last year, both excellent games, you guys kind of dominated those first halves, and then kind of Hopkins just kind of started kind of pulling you back a little bit. But I always said, I said last year, you guys did what you needed to do, but because you let them know we can stick with you, and then when it mattered the most, you waited to kind of get them when it mattered the most. Do you kind of feel that same way?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Do you feel a different intensity when it's a Hopkins game or even a Wyzetta game? Do you feel a different intensity in the game when it's those?
Yes, definitely. And like because everyone knows like one it's a late conference and then it's like one of the most competitive games. Like our schools are just very competitive, so then it's like yeah, there's definitely a different kind of feel for those games.
Walk us through what it's like being on the court there. Do you guys kind of hear the noise of the fans and the, kind of the hoopla around it? Or once the ball's tipped, is it kind of just focusing on the game?
My first game, probably I heard a lot of the noise and stuff, but then I think I definitely got better. And at the end, like it's a game, and so I think you just try and like shut out like all those other factors, like you said, and just play the game. And yeah,
Fair. So we get to state. I'm curious. I know there's a lot of chatter from people like me, from people, like in the media, that it kind of felt like it was St. Michael was the only stop from the Hopkins train. Did you guys have that same mentality, or was it was it hard not to look forward to kind of be like, we're looking for that rematch, or was it kind of just focused game to game? We need to make sure we get there first.
it was. It's hard because our school obviously knows like the kind of competition that's there. And so that's pretty much the game that like all of like our classmates talk about, the whole school, like the town talks about
hmm
like, oh, like when's the Hopkins game? Like when's that first one? Um, but then I think like as a team, like once we can finally like be as a team, I think we know like, okay, one game at a time, like in order to get there, we have to take on these teams first. I think we got pretty good at that.
How would you say you personally, how do you handle, I guess, the emotions or state tournament can be nerve wracking, it can be exciting. How do you kind of handle those and kind of weather those emotions?
I think especially like this year, like obviously like you said, it's very nerve wracking, like being there, but I think I know how good of like a support system I have, like in my teammates and my coaches. And I know that I'm gonna make mistakes, but I know that they're also gonna be there to back me up. And I know like I trust in myself too that I can make up for that mistake. And yeah, I would say my teammates helped a lot in that. And just yeah, just believing in myself too.
What is it like playing on Williams Arena floor? Is it nervous because you're on a raised floor, so if you go flying off the ends and stuff, what's it like playing up there kind of under the bright lights of Williams Arena?
Yeah, it's so cool. Like it's so cool. Like the atmosphere is just amazing. Um, yeah, and just like when it's filled up and like during the game, like it feels like a different kind of game, I guess you
Oh
could
yeah.
say. Yeah, and it's just yeah, it's awesome. The raised floor kind of scares me a little bit, but yeah,
I
I'm
would
also afraid of it,
I would
honestly.
fly right off that. I would have no idea. I have no what are they called? Peripheral vision. I would be terrible.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the game. We get the rematch, state championship. I always tend to say I feel bad for 4A and 3A because you guys. I know it's a day of rest on Friday, but it's also a day to kind of like think about it. What were the emotions for you personally, and then the team? Kind of, how do you go in and not be too jacked up for it, how too excited, but also not too nervous? Kind of walk us through leading up to the game.
I think for us, we had a shoot around the day of the game. And I think by the end of that, like all of us were like, okay, we're ready. And like we were telling each other, like, we're ready, like we're prepared. And I remember that, like, just like in my mind, just being like all day, I thought about that. I was like, yeah, like we're ready. And then in the locker room before the game, we danced, we got all hyped up for the game and everything. But I think our team especially like was really good at like, okay, now it's game like we are ready, like now it's game time, like we don't want to feel what we felt last year, like now's the time. And so
Speaking of dancing, I have a feeling I know the answer to this. Who's the dancing queen on the team?
probably Jacayla Craft.
Yes, Jacayla. So when is Kale's going to be in TikToks this coming year, right? Because Jacayla's a senior, so this is the last year to get in on those.
Oh yeah, there'll be
Fair,
plenty.
fair. So the game starts. That you guys came outshot like out of a cannon. It was flying everywhere, hitting everything, kind of everything. Walk us through. We'll talk about the first half where everything seemed like you're throwing it into the ocean. Every shot was going. You were getting stops and everything. What was that like? Kind of both. You come off the bench, but you come in and it stayed going. There was no real drop off. What was that feeling like?
It was like it was unreal. Like we came out and like you said, we were running like it was going really, really well. And it was like, God, like, is this really happening? And like it you kind of like got this like adrenaline rush, like even more than like just playing in the
Mm-hmm.
game, like in general. Like it all just like came and it was like there was just no like stopping it, I feel like. Obviously our movie got cut a little short. But yeah, it was just like it was probably the best feeling I've ever felt like in a game.
And then you go into halftime with, I think I want to say a 17 or 19 point lead. A lot of people are like, what just happened? Like, because, we expect to we didn't expect a blowout either way, and you guys were kind of running. What were those talks like in the locker room? Are they kind of like still hyping each other up? Is it like, wait, we're 0-0 coming out? Kind of what was those talks like?
That's actually exactly what we said. We said we're 0-0. Like we know this is a team that can come back and they're a second half team. So I think our focus in that locker room was just it's 0-0. Like we cannot let up. We cannot cut any of like our effort short. Like it has to be. We have to leave it all out there.
And I've always wondered this from the player perspective. As a fan, even in the stand, you're sitting there and you're like, it's coming. That Hopkins run is coming. Do you guys feel that too? Like, I mean, I probably don't want to talk about it, but is there sometimes like, okay, they're going to make a run. They're going to come at us at some point. How do you handle those and not like almost like will it to happen and like expect it to happen, but at the same time you kind of know like it's going to come. We just have to weather it.
Yeah, we definitely like the first 4 minutes of the second half. We knew that we would have to be like on our best game of the whole thing, and that's definitely when we kept telling each other, we're like, yeah, I think just we know it's coming. Let's do our best to not let it happen. But if it does, we just need to make sure that it doesn't, they don't take the lead.
Throughout the whole game, what was maybe one of your personal as a player highlights that you remember, like or a play you remember or a score you remember personally?
I remember when I first went in, we were on defense and we were supposed to be, I'm trying to think of where Lar wanted us. And I was exactly in my spot and then I got a steal. That was probably like my favorite one because it was like the first I went in and I did that and I was like, oh, okay, here we go.
My favorite was the block. They thought they had an open layup, and you came swinging from help side and swatted. And I'm like, oh, Kale's ready to go. Okay, that was like the first time we're like, okay, she came in ready. So then we'll talk. It gets tight at the end. It gets kind of wild at the end. Fouls happening, stuff like that. When was the moment that you had that I thought we won, we have this, or was there ever a moment until the final buzzer?
I would say it crossed my mind in the first half, and then obviously the second half was kind of a different story. Um, and I don't think that like we were like, okay, like we won until the buzzer rang.
I like
Like
it.
because it was just so close in the end, it was hard to be like, okay. And obviously they're an amazing team, so it's like you just never know. Like the ball could be in anyone's hands, and like something could happen. So.
And they kept going. I will say, I think the moment I knew it, it was you guys were up two, and you had McDonald's All-American, senior, Tessa Johnson shooting free throws to kind of clinch it. I'm like, there's no way she's not walking out without this.
Oh, 100%.
So that final buzzer goes. What is that feeling like? We got the payback on Hopkins. We got a state championship for 4A. Walk us through those first few moments. Is it kind of like just surreal, crazy? What's going on?
Like it was the most, oh, I can't even explain it. Like unreal feeling. Like you just look at like your side of like the stands and like your student section, like your parents. Like I think I looked at my parents first. Um, And yeah, that was really cool, like to see them like with all my family. And then just like being out there with like the girls, like we ran and obviously like, we tackled Tessa, I think it was, and we all just like sprinted after him. We were all on the floor. Yeah, it was an unreal feeling.
So have the team stopped dancing even yet, or are they still dancing, or did we stop maybe shortly, like maybe a couple months after the state title?
Yeah, maybe a couple months because I don't think we took a second off because we were on the bus after the state championship, like just going around St. Michael and like in a little like parade kind of thing, probably until about like 2 in the morning, and
Oh,
we were still dancing. So
so you were exhausted that next day.
yeah, yeah.
Fair. Once in a lifetime well, maybe we'll talk get to that here in a second. So, speaking of that, coming in now the defending champs. I know you guys have maybe had some summer practices, stuff like that. We don't maybe know a full schedule yet. Do you guys feel that kind of target on your backs? You're the champs. Hopkins wants to come back for it. Wayzatta's looking for it. You kind of have every team focusing on you now. What's that feel like?
I think that we obviously know that it's there and there is a target on our back now. And I think that over the summer, we kind of like talk to each other about that. And like, we're not like afraid to say it. Like, we're not just going to leave it and be like, okay, well, we just got to win some games, you know? I think that we're ready. And I think that we're ready to kind of like take that on and just like show teams that like we can really do well.
You personally, as a player, we said lost McDonald's All-American, lost Piper, lost some role players. How do you feel your role is going to change or increase coming into this year?
I think a really big difference will be offensively, being more aggressive on offense, um, really just continuing to play defense. We know that's what I really like to do. And yeah, I just think that really like knowing my spot and just really contributing a lot, like rebounds, assists, just kind of like being all over the board. Because obviously Tessa's a hard person to fill in for,
Fair.
but I think as a team,
So
yeah.
we know of Lake Conference, maybe one of those. Any games that we know of that we have circled on the calendar, excited for, kind of ones that I can't miss?
I actually don't think I've looked at our schedule like completely yet,
Fair.
but I would say Minnetonka for sure.
That's going to be a good game. I will be at
Oh yeah.
those. So
Yeah.
we talked about the summer. You were pretty busy there, kind of besides high school stuff, kind of dominating on the AAU scene. Let's talk about that. Why would I say one of my favorite AAU teams was yours? You had length. You guys had shooters. You had to defend positions literally 1 through 5 in some moments. How would you say some of the spot or highlights of your summer with North Tartan this year?
This I just want to say this team is like they're like my best friends. And so like I feel like how can you ever like have a dull moment? But I would say like my favorite was winning Boo Williams because it was the first 15U UIBL year. So we were the first ones and we won it last year or 2 years ago, I guess now. So winning it back to back, and then we had some new girls on the team, so none of them like have ever been there. And yeah, to win our first tournament, especially in UIBL one, was amazing.
Any specific shots that you remember? Any key moments? Anything of that nature from your entire AAU season?
The Wisconsin flight game in Chicago, uh, that kind of it wasn't really a buzzer beater, but I had a three towards the end of the game that put us up a little bit. And yeah, I would say that was a really fun game.
Fan, I was hoping to
Good
set her
for
up for that one because that's when she got the nickname Clutch Kale. Because it wasn't a buzzer beater, but it was with 1.2 seconds left, so it was pretty much the game winner. So don't let her play modest on you. It was corner 3, and it was just, I mean, they had, I don't know what they had a small defender on you, and that is length shooting. You didn't even see the defender there, so that had to be a fun feeling.
Yeah, that was awesome.
And we talked about EYBL. What is that circuit like from someone who, haven't played on, I mean, I watched it and it felt physical. How would you describe the difference between like EYBL from maybe like normal AAU basketball?
I would say obviously the rosters are super deep, and obviously like none of those teams are gonna have like a player that's like, oh, we can like let them shoot, you know? It's very competitive, like you said, very physical every game is. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. Like it's just like there's no games off.
You play for North Tartan. There's a history there. You have Rachel Bannum, Sarah Scalia, them kind of. What's that like playing with that kind of history behind you, kind of representing North Tartan? What does that mean to you?
I think it means a lot to me to wear North Tartan on a uniform and to have that UIBL patch on there. And I think we really know what it means. And I think that we try to like represent North Tartan like with class and like obviously every game that we play, like we want to show them like, yep, like we're North Tartan, and kind of yeah, like represent that history. Um, yeah, it's really cool.
So we've talked about, the Tessas, the AAU teammates and stuff. Who would you say is some of the best teammates you ever had a chance to play with, AAU or high school?
AAU, obviously playing with Madden. She's one of my best friends. And she's just awesome, obviously. And my whole AAU team this year is like they're awesome. Uh Tessa Johnson from high school, Abby Hazelton from high school. Goodness, I can't really pick all of them. But
Fair,
yeah.
fair. And I was gonna say, speaking of flying off of raised floor, your best friend has everyone nervous because I don't know if Madden is going to stay on a court.
Yeah. Nope.
I mean,
I'm a little
everyone
bit
has to be
worried
worried
too.
for her.
Yeah. Yep.
Fair, fair.
Yeah, me included.
Now let's do the other side of the coin. Who are some of the best players you've ever played against, AAU or high school?
Ooh. I think oh goodness. Jenica Lewis. We played against her a
Mm-hmm.
lot. Um, All out attack, I mean that if I can say a team, I guess. That
Mm-hmm.
team is super talented. Obviously, they won Memphis and everything. Um, I'm trying to think. It all kind of blurs together.
Fair. So then we'll kind of do a little hat like off that question. You said you like defense. Who are some of the toughest players you've ever had to defend?
This year during high school season, I guarded Aaliyah
Good
Crump.
luck. Good luck.
Yeah, no, that was definitely a task. That was a lot of fun. And then Tessa, I would usually have the assignment of guarding her every day in
Oh
practice.
man.
Yeah. So thank goodness for her though, because I think that helped me a lot. But yeah, it was
Oh,
definitely a task.
I have a story about having to guard Tessa Johnson. I play at Lifetime, and Tessa played with the guys one day, and I got stuck guarding her. I remember looking directly at her, and I'm like, "You drop me to the ground, I'm done." So I'm like, "Please, just take it easy. I mean, don't drop me. I'm old." And so she was very nice. She didn't drop. She didn't like cross me over and break my ankle. So thank you, Tessa Johnson, for being nice. So I know I
Yeah.
feel Kayla's pain. She had to do it every day. I had to do it once, and I was done.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And so we talked about some big shots, big moments, kind of becoming one of the top 5 players in the class of 2026. That comes with enhanced recruiting. Not getting into specifics, but I would like to ask, how do you like that comes with, is it exciting? Is it nervous? Is it stressful? How do you kind of handle the emotions that come with the recruiting aspect?
Uh, I think it's a lot of fun, and it's obviously like super new, like especially I'm the oldest in my family, so I'm kind of like the first one to kind of
Fair.
go through it and everything. Um, but yeah, I'm super grateful. The stressful part, um, I mean, it can be sometimes, I guess, but I just remember like I don't know, I just get very grateful, and I'm very thankful, obviously, to everyone. And yeah, I just think it's a lot of fun and it's such a big learning experience. And I think you develop skills like during it that are just like they're very important life skills. And so to do it like in that way is yeah, it's
I
really
like it. So when we're doing, we're meeting schools, we're talking to coaches and stuff. Do you have a list of kind of non-negotiables? Like this is what I have. This school has to have checked these boxes yet. Are we not there yet? Kind of, or what would say that process is for you?
I would say that obviously like talking to schools, like they kind of can give you like tips and stuff. And so
Hmm.
I have kind of come up like with a few things that I'm like, okay, like this would be like really important for me. Um, And one of those I would just say like somewhere like my game can like really like reach its fullest potential and I can like really benefit a team and a school and a program. I would say that's really important. And then I also just like culture. Like just like a really good culture is like something that I want to be a part of.
Fair. I like it. And I'm guessing you're going to have more and more mail coming in the mailbox and calls. So I would say you have a couple years of some busy coming up at you. So good thing,
Yeah.
good thing. But I would say you're going to be busy the next couple of years. So what would you say your game has grown the most maybe in the last year? Before heading into last year's high school season, coming into this year, heading into the high school season, where have you grown the most as a player?
I would definitely say my confidence has grown a lot. And I think it's something that's been really beneficial to my game, obviously. And also that kind of comes like with like being more aggressive like on offense, I think, and just being more ready to shoot, and being more effective on offense.
Like when you're hitting game winners at Chicago, you should be ready to shoot at all times.
Yeah.
I like it. Well, I was gonna say, so we talked about because you have some good size out there, long wingspan stuff like that. Have you always been kind of one of the taller players, and did that give you maybe post skills when you were younger? Or have you always kind of been a guard?
I was definitely taller than most of the people when I was like playing like traveling and everything. I've always been the tallest, but in travel ball, I got like my dad was my coach and everything. And I just remember being the point guard. Honestly, like going through the full court press, like when you could finally do that in
Fair.
traveling. Um, yeah, I don't really like ever remember, like I'm sure I did, but like posting up. But yeah, I remember playing point guard most of my life.
Because I said I remember this AAU season. I note it when you guys play Minnesota Stars, you will run the point on some point, and then you're guarding Lily Bell, and I'm like, that is literally the vast like you are point guard to guarding the center, and it's a difficult center to guard. So
Yeah.
how do you
Yeah.
has that versatility always been part of your game? Kind of like to do play multiple positions, handle multiple positions, or is kind of something you've had to grow into?
Ooh, I feel like that's definitely like something that I've been able to do. Like I've been like I have had like a versatile game, But I think that especially like over like the summer and like high school season, like it's something that kind of like got taken like advantage of, like in a really good
Mm-hmm.
way. And I think I really grew that part of my game.
I like it. So we've talked a lot about basketball. Let's go off the court when we need to decompress from basketball. When we want to kind of just relax. What does Kale like to do? Where do people find Kale?
I love to be at the pool or the beach.
Fair.
I love to be out in the sun. Uh, I'll usually be doing something with my siblings. Lately, it's been pickleball. We've been loving pickleball.
That's a huge
That's
thing all of a
really
sudden. Like it's everywhere now. Pickleball.
Yeah, yeah, it's awesome. It's so fun.
Well,
Except my brother likes to make like all the brackets and everything, and so I think I'm currently losing in that family bracket. So that's
see,
unfortunate.
got to have dad or mom do it. Got to have the impartial. Got to have them make the bracket fair.
Yeah.
Any hidden talents? Any unknown talents that we don't know of? Non-sport related.
Goodness. I'm actually really good at coloring. I love to color. My sister loves to color. So yeah, I'd say that she really pushed me, and I have become a really good colorer.
I like it. I used to love to do that, but I have no like patience. I can't just like sit down because I just like lose attention span. So I wish
Oh,
I
yeah.
would love to do that. I have no attention span for it, so I'm not a good colorer.
Yeah, I totally get that though.
So we'll do some rapid fire here before we wrap it up. Favorite food?
French toast. Like a good French toast.
It's morning too. I'm so hungry. That sounds delicious now.
Yeah.
Favorite movie right now?
Ooh. This one isn't like from recently, but I love like the Secret Life of Pets ones. I think those are so fun to watch.
Two-parter. We'll start with favorite song right now.
Ooh. I would say Zach Bryan Revival.
Favorite hype song before a game?
Headlines by Drake.
Like it. Any superstitions before a game? Anything has to be done this way? Have to eat a certain meal? Anything of that nature?
Honestly, I don't really. My hair can sometimes be, but the only thing like I consistently do before every single game, I would say, is pray.
I will say this. One of your teammates from AAU gave me one of the funniest quotes. Maya Wilson, shout out Maya. She said that if she's doing bad at the beginning, she changes her hairstyle at the first time out. And so I noticed that in games, and I was like, I wonder how many others do that. Like they change their hair if the game doesn't start out well.
Yeah, no, she does. And I feel like she changed her shoes one time as well. I don't know if that's a part of her thing, but no, I definitely saw her change her hair.
Fair. So
So
we
now it's
have.
good to know, Maya.
She said that, and
That's why.
I was like, oh, okay. I'm like, whatever you got to do to get a win. Hey, it works.
Yeah.
I like it. And so, how about best of 5 games to 10 between you and Dad? Who's winning?
Me.
3-0, 3-1, 3-2. What's the score?
Ooh. he could maybe give me like a 3-2,
Okay. But when it comes down to
but
clutch, you're just gonna
he's
hit
a
clutch. We
cuter.
call him
Yeah, he's
clutch
a
Kale. We
cuter.
call her clutch Kale for a reason. Come on now.
Yeah.
Sorry, Dad. So I always end with this. I won't take your whole day. I always say, when someone is watching Kale play basketball, what is something you hope they get from that? What is something they hope they think about you or realize about you as a player?
Um, my versatility and yeah, but then I would also add like defense. Like I love like to showcase like my defense because I really like enjoy that. And so I love just like flying around on defense.
So speaking of that, this is going to be interesting because you've kind of done both. We'll end it with this: game-winning block or game-winning three.
Ooh, I feel like I would say a game-winning three.
You've had it, and you're going to probably have it again this year. So that is correct. But once again, thank you for taking your time. People, get out and see Kale. Get out and see St. Michael. They're my favorites to start the season right now. Still, that they saw. You have a point guard who's going to probably be defending centers all over the place in Kale. You have Jacayla going to be dancing somewhere, probably on the court, off the court. So I said we're expecting the TikToks. We're expecting a run for a repeat. Anything else you want to say before we let you go for the day?
Just thank you so much for having me on.
Absolutely. Cannot wait to see you. Good luck this season. Good health this season. Cannot wait to see games. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much.
Bye.